Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, Happy Healthy Whole. And today I'm going to talk with you about trusting God's timing and understanding that we are not supposed to be in control of certain things. Like I revealed to you in one of my previous videos that I lost my mother to renal failure, which eventually led to heart failure, and she passed away that way on Mother's Day in 2022. Shortly after that, one of the most challenging things happened. I received some information from a very close friend of mine, someone that I love very much, and I found out that her mother was experiencing issues with renal failure as well. You just can't imagine how I felt in the moment getting that information from her, receiving that information after just losing my mother. It probably was 8 or 9 months after the fact. It wasn't quite a whole year. I don't think a whole year had passed yet. Or it might have been right around the 1-year mark. But at any rate, it was a hard pill to swallow, especially knowing what I had just went through with my own mother and me watching her slowly diminish and pass on over the course of the time. To hear that a very close friend of mine, mother, was experiencing the same thing, I can't explain to you how that made me feel. But she asked me to pray. So I prayed with her. I sent prayers every day. I prayed every day for her mother. And just like I was praying for my mother and hoping for the best for my mother, long story short, her mother actually gets put on the donor list, gets donated a kidney, and is doing fine. I don't know what the difference was. All I know is it wasn't my responsibility to question God in that moment. It was my responsibility to pray with her and pray for her and pray for her mother, just like she had asked me to do. Was it hard? Was it a hard pill to swallow after the fact when her mother came out unscathed, so to speak? It was. I sat and I was like, wow. And I didn't know how to feel about it at first, when I first got the information and she was going through her recovery and everything. And mind you, this all happened in a matter of months. My mother was on the same list, and she was on 3 different donor lists for like 3 or 4 years and never got a donor. So this was so hard at first, but I realized it was a challenge for me. God put me in that situation to see how I would respond and see if I would actually pray for her mother wholeheartedly and see if I could wholeheartedly be happy for her mother when she came out on the other side of it and was better and is going to continue on to live a much longer life. Look, my mother died at 63 years old. That was predetermined. I didn't have anything to do with it. The people at the hospitals that denied her the kidney, the donor, or whoever didn't call her for a donor, her not matching or her not doing all of that or not being able to get a kidney, all of that was predetermined. It had nothing to do with me and my lack of conviction in loving my mother and my lack of conviction in praying for my mother either. So I have to and had to, at the time when I was praying for my friend's mom, I had to realize it is all in God's plan. And we have to learn how to accept what God has determined for our loved ones and for the loved ones of other people in our lives. So when we see a good thing happen and we wonder why it didn't happen for our loved one, it's not our place to question God. It's not our place to do that at all. And I could have had my why moment, God, why moment, but I didn't. I sat back and I said, okay, wow, that is amazing that was able to happen for her in that succession and so quickly, in less than a year's time. She was able to get on the list, get a donor, and recover. You know, it's just like, wow. Amazing. After the journey I had been through with my mother over the course of 3.5, 4 years of her being sick, us finding out what it was, and her having to go through dialysis and do all of these things and get on these various lists in different states and all of this to try to get a kidney, and them telling me that I didn't match because, well, they didn't tell me that I didn't match. They told me that I didn't qualify to loan her a kidney because on paper I was considered overweight. So even though in our subculture I'm not considered overweight for us, but medically my BMI was too high for me to be able to donate a kidney to her. So they never even tested me to see if I was a match. I only made it through the preliminary questions. And I did that every time that she went somewhere to get a donor. I did it with 3 different doctors and they all denied me. You know, so it's not that I didn't want to give her a kidney. They told me that I wasn't, that I couldn't, basically. They told me that I couldn't because of my weight. So I even eventually lost weight too, so I could try to fit into their mold, into their standard, so that I could donate my mother a kidney, and it still didn't happen. They still wouldn't allow me to donate her a kidney. So it was just a whole bunch of roadblocks and a whole bunch of red tape, and it was just, it was a mess, guys. It was a mess. All the things that I went through with my mom, it was a mess. It was such a mess that at the end of it, like, my uncle was so upset with the medical profession that he was like, they killed my sister because they allowed her to die, you know, by not giving her a kidney, by not allowing, you know, they kept ruling out relatives and saying that we couldn't. I mean, we're heavier women in my mom's family, and just because of our weight, they would tell us we couldn't even see if we were matches and different things. And because there were a number of relatives, it was not just me that wanted to get tested to see if we could donate a kidney to her, you know, but they denied us all, you know. And they had their reasons and they had their medical terminologies, but my uncle was very upset. It was very, very hard on my uncle and my son. My son loved my mother like no other. Their relationship, I can't even begin to explain to you guys, but it was very, very difficult for my uncle and my mother. I mean, my uncle and my son to accept my mother's death. Not saying that it was easy for me, because it wasn't easy for me either. And it became even harder, even more challenging after seeing the blessings occur in a friend of mine's mother's life. I was just like, wow. I was in disbelief for a while. I was like, wow, she got a kidney that fast? It could happen that quickly? Really? Like, I just, and that's when I knew. That's when I knew. It was never supposed to be in my control. And it was something that I had to learn how to let go of because I needed to understand. It was a teachable moment for me because I needed to understand that God has his own timing and God has us all on his own clock. And we have to learn to accept that and love and cherish God even in the midst of it, even in the midst of our hurt, even through our tears. We have to trust him and trust him and trust him. And even after that, even with my friend's mother being donated a kidney and all of that, I learned to understand. I got a greater understanding of God's love and his timing. And I just embraced him even more. So for those of you out there that may be asking, why did you do this for somebody else's mother, but you didn't do it for my mother? And you're mad and you're angry and you're on your knees and you're crying, or why they didn't do it for your father or any of your loved ones, but you've seen them work a miracle in someone else's life. Let it go. And know that God is the author and the finisher. And it was predestined for them to go and join God at whatever age they left here to go and join God. Okay?